Good afternoon, and welcome to Gators Garage, the home of all things historical gaming in the great city of Savannah, Georgia. I'm Mike Baker, your host, and we have with us our returning special guest, Randy Yan. Say hi to the folks, Randy.
Hey, everybody. A little under the weather, but I'm here hanging in. So,
Present accounted for, absolutely.
yeah.
So before we get too deep in here, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button, share this thing, let your friends know about us. I think we bring some pretty good content, at least start some good conversations. If you want to help us out, you can buy us a cup of coffee on Patreon or Ko-Fi. You can see those in the links below. Or hey, buy some merch from our favorite store, Gator Games and Books. So that with all the commercials out of the way, let's get on to the main part. So we're going to start off today talking about Randy's army. I think last time you guys met with me, and we talked about the army I was providing Brent. Randy ran the British.
Yeah.
Didn't place, but he had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So here's his army in all its glory, and yes, the big gun even counts because that's his off-board artillery. So there you go. Um, he ran basically a British rifle company with some light armor and some support, which pretty much what everybody in the group was running at 750 points. You weren't going to see a lot of big tanks or monsters on the table, and that was kind of the intent. We wanted to kind of keep it as an introductory tournament where people could learn the rules without having a lot of special rules to deal with or a lot of hard equipment to deal with. So, Randy, tell us a bit about your army.
Yeah. So there's no Gurkhas in here.
Well,
Yeah.
darn.
At 750 points, it was a little tough to bring any Gurkhas. So I just went traditional rifle company here with, let's see, 7 guys. Each squad has an LMG. So this is my first version 3 tournament, and I can say that 7 men are going to struggle. You need more. You need 8 or 9 because they took casualties and they really got weak really quick, especially being regular. But with 750 points and wanting to have a decent dice count, that was what I had to work with. So
I ran into a similar issue building the Fallschirmjäger. I built small squads, and Brent and I have not debriefed yet, but I knew it was a fragile force. It was a fragile force in version 2. I got a sneaky feeling it might have been a little bit more fragile in version 3.
Yeah.
So there's your commander.
Yep, inexperienced company commander. Mike hates it. It's just one dude by himself, cheap as he can get.
Did you lose? Did you ever lose him?
Not
or did you
one.
manage to keep him?
I didn't lose a single officer.
Wow. Okay, and that was one of the things.
I take that back. I did lose one with John Connor's game because he pushed in on me so hard. And he actually just stepped out and just started shooting at the guys trying to put a pin on him. And I couldn't even do that with him. So
it's what you get for taking inexperience, right?
Well, he'd have died anyway. We get 9 shots at him, he's going to die. So I was like, go out in a blaze of glory.
There you go. And of course, we're still getting all the weapons editions for free, which makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So you see, he's got a submachine gun there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the subby now is a 4-point ad for your regular troops. So, take advantage of it while you can, folks, because it's the days are numbered.
Even the rifle's going to cost you. I think the pistol's the only thing that's free.
Oh, geez.
Officer. Yeah.
So were the chunks. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So here's your 3 good-looking squads.
Yeah.
I like that you represent the Sikhs in there. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. They're really. I like them. They're really well painted. Like I say, you can see the light machine gun in there.
Yep.
I think I had to. So the story on him was when I built my Indian squad. It was the free 10-man squad that used to have in version 2.
Right.
And they all had rifles. So I had to break his arms off and put in a
that sounds cruel. This won't hurt bad, Crunch.
Yeah, we had to go to surgery to make him happen. That's why his base is different too. I got kind of a sand base on him, so
yeah, we can rebuild him. He's the bionic Sikh. So You'll see this figure in Conflict 47, and the machine gun will be the arm. Just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah. Pretty cool. But yeah, good force. So 7's light, huh? You really want to go a little heavier.
Yeah, I would at
So,
least do
yeah.
8. Just
Wow.
more firepower going out, and it'll, if you can hit them first with more shots, then you're likely to take less damage coming back in.
Yeah. I'm hoping to be able to interview John Ross and kind of get his feeling for what how the low point worked for him. And of course, I think he didn't take any light machine guns. I
None at
still
all.
think
None.
you're
Yeah.
back footing yourself. And he came in second. There you
Yeah.
go.
I wished I'd have
So,
played him, honestly.
yeah.
I like the list. I think I would have done well against his list because of the machine guns and what
I
he
think
brought
you
for
use those
tank.
machine guns right, you can cause no end of mischief. Yeah.
Yeah.
So well done. All right. So that's your rifle component, which of course makes up the core part of your component.
Yeah.
And there we go. Next up is the armor. And boy, Randy wishes he would have had some heavy tanks, but no, we went with light armor this time.
Actually, I wouldn't have brought anything different.
Really?
The Crusader is just an absolute star in version 3. That twin autocannon, it was just causing no ends of mischief. Didn't have enough point. I would have run 2 if I could have had more points, but so I had to bring the Humber, which was a single light autocannon. I mean, it did okay.
Right.
The only good thing about it is it's wrecky, so it can jump out. I had to do that a couple times during the tournament just to save its bacon. So, and it worked. Actually, the guys jumped out with a flamethrower and from an engineer squad, and I wrecked out of the way with it. So
hot foot.
Yeah. And I think he ran out of fuel. I think he ran out of fuel after that too. So that was
awesome. Yeah, that's perfect. I noticed that you made the Crusader the command vehicle rather than the armored car.
Yeah, because I figured the Crusader was going to be more in the mix, and the armored car is likely to wrecky. So therefore, it may not be, within the bubble. I wanted, so that's why I did that.
Right. Yeah. And man, your stuff looks good. You paint all your own stuff, and boy, it looks great. We actually had a couple of. Go ahead.
The Humber was done the week of. I mean, I was literally putting it together at the end, right last minute.
Yeah, I've got one I need to finish painting. It's still what color? It's sand because it's for North Africa, and I just got to finish. Probably going to throw some olive camo on there.
Yeah,
because that's how they show it modeled, and then it'll be done. And then I had a couple of those AA Crusaders available in the prize pool.
Yeah,
I think one of them got picked up, and I may pick up the other because I mean that's not a bad little tank to have. And if you go up to 1250, you pick up a Sherman or a Firefly, and there's your anti-tank. Meanwhile, you got these guys to deal with any of the pesky German Panzerfaust or Panzerschreck units. So
yeah,
really well done, Randy. You look good.
I've actually got a theory on that too. I'm not going to take any heavy tanks. I was tempted. I have a Firefly, but I think I'm going to bring 3 Piats.
Okay.
And then I'll have 2 Crusaders, and the Piats are basically just gonna. There's no tanks going to want to push up against 3 Piats. I'll just keep them hidden on ambush, and they try to push up. I'll just jump out and blast them.
Piat has a range of 12, right?
Well, yeah. So they got to come to you. You can't go after them unless you put them in a Jeep, but then it's a suicide mission if you do that. So
yeah, y'all drive this Jeep up and chase that tank. How about no?
even if you kill the tank, there's likely to be 3 or 4 squads that are going to shoot you to pieces after that.
Right. And that's one of the things I'm going to be real curious to see how people address it and how Warlord addresses it, because in V2, a 2-man team was reasonably survivable because of the -1.
Yeah.
Now you're just not. Now, observers, artillery observers always count as down, so they get a +2 to their terrain save.
Yeah.
But they're still darned easy to hit. I've always critiqued that the bolt action and some of these other games, they'll take teams like your Piat team, your Bazooka team, which, to be honest, they're a team, but traditionally they were buried within a squad.
Yeah.
and they'll pull them out so now everybody can get to them. I'll be real curious to see if they don't FAQ that back into the squad.
I would love to
They
see a
probably
Piot
won't,
in the squad.
huh?
I would love to see a Piot in the squad. That would be awesome.
Right, right. Because now your Piot becomes a lot more survivable. You can move in closer. You know, again, it would not be one of my blog posts if I didn't mention my favorite game. Say it, Randy.
Squad leader.
Squad leader. Right. So in squad leader, bazookas, medium machine guns, light machine guns, heavy machine guns, Piots, however you want to pronounce it,
Mhm.
are all buried within either fire teams or squads.
Yeah.
So much more survivable. You can't really pick them off. In a lot of the miniature games, Bolt Action being one of those, they're teased out as a separate unit. Now they're horribly, horribly vulnerable.
Yeah.
And there's some tricks you can do, but wow, yeah. So I'll get off that soapbox for a little bit. But that may well work for those POs, but you're gonna have to have them protected with some serious infantry. So your other platoon is a heavy weapon support platoon.
Yep.
And I think just about everybody had those. I've got a decent one for the Germans. I don't have a good one for the Americans. I'm gonna have to work on that.
Yeah. Mortars are just too good not to have a heavy weapons platoon.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. So here's your setup. You got a platoon commander again, one guy, inexperienced. Although here, I think that makes sense because if you're inexperienced, a mortar platoon, heavy weapons platoon commanders in the front of the fight, something has gone dreadfully wrong for you.
Yeah, he needs to be hidden pretty well, and he can still do his job that way.
Right, right.
Yeah.
2 mortars and an anti-tank team, and then a jeep, I guess, to carry the anti-tank team. Anti-tank team with an ATR, which is good against a lot of your light armor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
turns infantry into pink mist.
So there's all the mortars. Only one of them has a spotter. That's because the artillery observer can also spot for both of these mortars.
Right.
So that gave me basically still 2 spotters. And then the anti-tank team, the theory there was maybe get up beside a tank at point blank and jump out and shoot it because you get a plus to penetration.
Okay.
And so you can actually, a light tank would be no problem knocking out if you can get it on the side or behind it.
Plus, being mounted in a Jeep, you can move pretty quick. Yeah. I really like how you modeled these. There's your mortar section. Looks like you've got Armies of Commonwealth crew on one and then a regular British crew on the other.
Yeah, so there's one of my mortars is actually a Gurkha mortar team.
Okay.
But
I thought you said you didn't have any Gurkhas on the list.
Yeah, but there's no such thing as a Gurkha mortar. I wish there was, but yeah. Yeah.
So a Gurkha mortar team would disassemble the mortar and beat you to death with it.
Bash them over the head with a mortar tube.
Right. So there you go.
Yeah, the anti-tank rifle team was one that I had to paint the week of too because I just didn't have it. I think I wasn't sure if I'd like them, and I'd been practicing with them just in gray plastic. So I had to rush up and do that one.
I have been using the anti-tank rifle team, as you know, from the Gentleman's War set, both the German and the British.
Yeah.
And again, given the scale that we play at, that ATR is not a bad thing to have around. Now, I think in real life, they were phased out, I think, by 43 or 44. But in terms of gameplay, they're absolutely worth having around.
Yeah.
Like I say, they not only are good against light armor, but they'll absolutely turn infantry into pink mist.
Infantry,
that's not a bad thing.
And soft skins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a few soft skins in the tournament, even though they've gotten horrible. But
right. Well, I mean, just like in real life, they're cheap transport, get you where you need to go.
Yeah.
Just watch out because they are vulnerable. So there you go. Let's see. And I think here again, you went with an inexperienced platoon commander. Yeah, that's your we talked about that. So back up just a bit. No, you guys didn't see that. So overall, how do you think the Army did?
Other than the infantry, like I say, struggling, Probably could have used a little more transport capacity because double envelopment. I kind of struggled in that one, getting across the board. I actually had put the Piat, or not Piat, but the ATR in the Jeep, and I was going to run it across the board. And at first, John was going to play John Connor, and he was going to go into a building. And so I was going to take that opportunity to make a 48-inch run with them because they were already loaded down the side of the board. And then he changed his mind and ended up going into some trees in front of the building. And then I was like, oh, crap. Now, if I do that, they're going to shoot me, right there. So I ended up backing up that plan. But that would have scored a couple units if I could have got that across the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about this big old gun that's on your army tray. Obviously, it's not something you use on the table.
Yeah, I wish it was every round, but that's it's a 255 millimeter coastal battery gun, and the forward artillery observer, that's where he's calling fire in on the board from that gun. Yeah,
nice.
Everybody that sees it goes like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Be very afraid."
And I've seen you put it actually on the table just to rattle everybody's cage.
Have, yeah. If there's room out there, usually I'll set it right there.
No. So that's fantastic. Okay, very good.
Look in the background there. You'll see a Stuka bomber.
Yeah. Was that your German air support?
That's my German air support. He's sneaking over the horizon on my guys here.
Nice.
Doing a low flyby.
Nice.
Somewhere underneath all that, there's a P-51 Mustang.
I think I trimmed him out of one of the pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, there's I mean, I would really like to bring the air observer for my U.S. forces, but because they've actually gotten really useful. However, I think there's going to be so much flack on the table they'll never survive. They just won't. They'll never. It's just a waste.
What we call it, because so many people are going to take flak vehicles to use for anti-infantry work, and go ahead and bring your aircraft in if you like. We'll flak those too.
Well, I mean, look at the Crusader, 4 shots from the auto cannon. Every one of those is D3 hits, and you only need 3 hits to bring the plane down. So I think they should have adjusted that slightly. I think that's just a little too easy to shoot a plane down.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know, but
balancing out air at this level is really got to be a challenge. So
you don't want to make it too OP, but yet you don't want it. I think maybe 4 hits might have been increased. Need 4 hits to knock a plane down. Maybe.
Okay. All right. Just before we leave this set of slides, just letting everybody know, a lot of folks may be wondering, okay, what are y'all going to do for your next big thing? Our next big event is Thanksgiving. And no, that's not missing an H. Yes, we are thankful, but we're also tankful. So this is going to be a celebration of all things armor. Currently, we don't necessarily have anything bolt action planned yet, but it wouldn't be too hard to bend our arm and get us to run a tank war or some such thing. Right now, we've got Blitzkrieg Commander planned with an Eastern Front game, World War II Spearhead, operational level Battle of the Bulge game, and we've got a couple more sessions. So if you want to run a game, reach out to us at our email address, which will be in the contact information below, and we'll get something worked out. We've got room for like 4 GMs, 4 games. Going to start at 11, run to 8, take a break about 3 o'clock for a late lunch. It's a tradition we've had now for, Randy. I know I've done it as long as you've known me, and I think it predates you. So been doing it at least for 15 years. I heard the concept years ago. I'm like, Thanksgiving, I'm in. I mean, what's not to love about all things armor? Science fiction games are welcome as well. But so far this year is shaping up to be heavily historical, but we may well see some battle tech. Because hey, what are mechs but big stompy walking robots?
So, I know you got a pretty good desert board.
I do.
What do you think about doing a Rommel versus the British commander or whatever his name was?
Montgomery.
Montgomery.
Yeah, could do it.
We could do something out in the desert.
Yeah, I've got a Lee tank I can literally throw together. I have, of course, my Humber armored car. I've got I've got a couple of Mark IVs, and I already have one light German armored car. I'm just looking over on the shelf. I already have one light German armored car. I could easily add another. So that board on a 4x8 board, probably if you had about 4 to 6 tanks on a side, that'd be just about enough.
Did they
So
have
I
any
don't know what you
tigers?
could bring.
Did they
Huh?
have any? Did they have any tigers in Africa, or was it pretty much Panzer threes and fours?
I think there may have been a couple, but they were rare. You're mostly going to see 3s and 4s.
Yeah,
Um, and generally without shirts or anything of that
yeah,
nature. Like I say, I can easily put, and of course the ever popular Stug was there as well. I've got 2 painted Stugs. I can paint up a couple of 4s. Um, I can paint up the German light armored car. So, shoot, now that I think about it, I myself could put 6 vehicles on the board easy on the German side.
yeah.
Allies, I'm not nearly as heavy, but I'm sure you could cover that.
Yeah, I've got plenty of German stuff that will work. The problem would be the British because they used a lot of the Comets and the Crusaders and stuff out in the desert. They didn't use Shermans, as far as I know.
Yeah, they had. I think they had Shermans. I know I've got one Lee tank that's part of
Hmm.
my collection that I can put together.
Yeah,
So there's one, and that'll match up against one of those Mark IVs pretty nicely. Um, your Churchill tank would be a good one. Don't you have a
yeah,
Churchill?
I do.
That would
It's
work
a
well.
well, I have an Avery turret and I also have a medium anti-tank gun turret for it, so I can swap it
That's the
out.
one you'd want, that medium AT turret. So
Yeah,
there's your 2 tanks. We both have Humber armored cars, so that's
yeah,
4. So we
yeah,
just specked out 4 on 4 easy. And I mean, we could look through and we can easily come up with a couple more tanks on each side and a couple more armored cars to make it 6v6. I can see 2 players running the one player running the tanks and one player running the armored cars on each side, 4-player game. That'd be kind of fun. Probably go pretty quick too.
yeah.
So this is how we come up with these ideas, folks. There you go. You heard it here first. Could well be some tank wars at Thanksgiving, which would be entirely appropriate.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, and we're gonna have 2 tables. Although we can always drop a third if we decide we want to run more games. We always got room. I can tell you from experience. We can have up to 8 tables, maybe 7, maybe
Yeah,
7. Right,
we figured that
which
one
means
out.
we can have probably if we want doubles, we could easily have 28 people. So if you want to come, I'll be putting an event for this up on Facebook. Just let me know you're coming. If you got a particular game you want to bring or play, or a particular type of game you want to play, just give a heads up. I know my Blitzkrieg commander will easily handle 4 people, if not 6. I think Jim Lee's Bulge game will handle 4 people, so that's 10. And we just specced out a 4-player game, so that's 14 of bolt action. So gonna try and get one of our BattleTech guys to maybe run Alpha Strike or BattleTech. So it's gonna be fun. It always is. We always have a good time, and we always can't wait to do it till next year. So put it on your calendar. It is the November 23rd, which is the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and it will be at a live church where we do all of our big events here in Pooler, Georgia. Come on, might want to bring you something to drink, non-alcoholic, of course. We'll probably have some snacks to hand out, and we always provide bottled water. And we'd love to see some of you, our viewers and our friends, come by to take advantage of that. So that's Randy's Army. That's our next event. Next thing we would like to talk about, though, because we ain't done yet, we have lots of news for y'all today. We are going to talk about, oh, look, more bolt action. No, we're going to talk about exactly how the tournament went this last
Yeah,
time. It was absolutely awesome. Easily our best event yet. I think, Randy, my last count was 27 people between bolt action and blood and plunder. And I'll be doing a short video on blood and plunder probably either today or later this weekend. But today, for now, we're still talking about bolt action. But it went very well. We had 16 folks. There's actually
yep.
18 in the picture. A couple of guys were running demos. But no, that is not the prize support. That is the Gator Games store, which was up and running and people were checking stuff out. But yeah, so we had 16 people come, and just always grateful for the player support. And that extended over to our tables. We had Randy provided tables. Craig Crean provided. This table is at Craig's
Yep.
and Randy's, and just they did a fantastic job. The buildings there are those the colored buildings are the Normandy World War II micro arch printed buildings, the Gator Game Cells.
Awesome
You'll
buildings.
see a few of these here and there. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, those are awesome. I love them. They look great. They're easy to put together. You don't have to paint them. Just can't say enough good things about them. Eventually, all my cities will have these instead of other stuff, and all my regular buildings will go to rural terrain, I think.
Excellent. Excellent. Someone had asked us, when you're setting up the tables, how do you balance? And
Yeah.
my first reaction was, well, we kind of do what looks right or feels right, but there's a few key things we look for. I always look to make sure your baseline's blocked so nobody can run up a side or along the back side. What else do we do, Randy?
Yeah. So one thing you don't want is a road that runs straight from one player's side to the other. You want to make sure that each player has the equal number of roads. As you can see here, we got 2 roads blocked on one side because cigar box mats are like that. They tend to put more roads on one side than the other. And then hardcover, you want to make sure there's pretty much an equal number of hardcover on both sides. That way, each player hasn't, it's more balanced. That's the biggest things right there.
Yeah. Soft cover. We just about always have plenty of soft cover either from the mat or from what we put down. And so there's
Yeah.
always plenty of that. And here,
Yeah.
like
Hey,
you say,
Mike.
you can see. Go ahead,
So,
sir.
so we had a question, and I'm pretty sure I was right on this. On the lower left here, you have 2 stands of woods, and
Yes,
they're kind of pushed together. So we were playing that as one solid piece of woods instead of a little gap between them.
that was the intent.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they're pretty hard pushed together to make one big set of woods.
yeah,
Later on, well, I don't have it in this slideshow, but the mat that we were playing on, your mat, had woods with a creek running through them. And when they first played it,
hmm
they played it all as one big set of woods. And when I looked at it, I said, well, guys, you probably want to play it as separate sets of woods because you got the creek breaking it up. And that's what we did in the second game. But that was the
yeah.
demo table where they were more
So Mike,
focused on learning mechanics. Go ahead.
so one thing here too. I played on this table against Theron, and one of the changes to V3 is your forward deployers can deploy anywhere on the table. So that little double set of woods is where my forward artillery observer was, because he can pretty much see all the way across the board and call in a artillery strike.
Right.
And he quickly got surrounded by an engineer squad behind this building, and then another truck with some dudes got out on this other little stand of woods. And so my second artillery strike, I called it in right on top of him. So I was joking with the guy. I was like, broken arrow, broken arrow.
I bet there.
And it came in,
He's
and
a great guy.
he survived with just a pin, and I think everything got pins, but it was funny.
That's awesome. Those are great stories you play games for. That's fantastic. Same board from the other side. Here's that second road Randy was talking about.
Yeah.
So again, a road on each side. Here's the desert board. Again, we've got a half track in the middle of a shot up half track blocking the road to keep it from running all the way across. This one we have to build from raw mat and build up, but it's always fun. Desert board always gets lots of conversation from people. And this was actually a combined effort of me and again Craig Crean provided the desert buildings and a couple of the trees, and then the rest of this was my geohex and some foam and some various pieces. Let's see here. Called this one the Forest Village. You get to play in this one, Randy?
No, I did not.
No, yeah. So the buildings there are Miniature Building Authority, kind of a dilapidated shed and then a shot up house. Crater again to keep the road from running all the way across the map.
Yeah.
And we took what was a couple of creek lines running into another creek and turned that into a larger water hazard to make it a little bit more of a challenge. And trees everywhere. Now on this map, and what I usually do with the cigar box battle maps, is the outline of the green is the outline of the forest, with the trees really providing like some 3D detail. And I've discovered how to explain that to folks, because the larger trees, like you see up top there, people will think, oh, this is the extent of it. No, that whole round thing of trees there, that whole green. So this mat has lots of soft cover.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you notice these borders, all these tables with cigar box mats
Tell us
have
about
these
that.
borders.
Yeah.
So the cigar box mats are too big for bolt action tables. Although you can play on them, but with the rules about vehicles exiting the edge of the map, we wanted to really make sure it was a 6x4 playing area. So if you just say, oh, well, 4 inches in, blah, 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 it can get really vague, and people can start arguing over whether or not their vehicle actually hit the edge of the table or not. So with these little borders, they're made of felt, and they stick to the cigar box mats really well. And they just did the job. Plus, places to put stuff, dice and tapes and things. So it really worked out good.
I noticed that, because that's always a challenge when we're running events, whether it's a casual play or a tournament. Where do I put my stuff?
Yeah.
And that's a big tip of the hat to you, Randy, because you've sat down and thought that through. And that little bit of 4 inches really made a difference for people being able to have things nearby without having to clutter a nearby table or have them actually on the play area. So, and like you say, it kept things tournament legal. This white snowboard will show up again for Thanksgiving, probably what I'm going to use for my Eastern Front game. So that'll be fun. Let's see here. This is what we call the Chateau.
Yep.
And there again, you've got a big road network. We put a wreck in the middle of the roadway. We're like, nope.
Yeah.
I mean, wheeled vehicles can still get around it, but they're not going to have the road. They're not going to have the road bonus, because they're going to have to brake to get around it. So that's good. And that's the other thing you mentioned several times when we were setting up, was that you wanted to make sure you leave space for wheeled vehicles to have room to maneuver on the board. Tanks can go anywhere. Wheeled vehicles can't go through rough ground. They can't go through trees. They can't go over hedges. So you need to allow them some room to maneuver, because everybody's going to have a certain number of wheeled vehicles.
Yeah, because if you're not careful, you can literally, well, when you see the bocage board, there can be so much rough ground that if you block the roads, wheel vehicles will not be able to go anywhere. They're going to get stuck on their side of the board.
Yeah, which, quite honestly, in real life, that's what happened with the bocage. That was the problem with the armored push in Market Garden. Is the only place the British armor could maneuver was like down the highway. And of course, the Germans are like, gee, I wonder which way they're coming, right?
And of course, they're going to mine the roads and everything else to make it hard to get through.
Right. And while that may have happened in history, that doesn't make for a fun tabletop game experience.
No. Oh boy, so that's something else. Roll for mines when you're traveling down a road. That's 6. You hit a mine.
Stick that in the back of your head. We may throw that out on one of our tournament tables just for fun.
Yeah.
Any vehicle that goes to more than 12 inches down the road has to roll for mines. That'll make people think.
Yeah.
And then the combo here is the building in the foreground is a micro arts building, and then the chateau and the house beyond that, the rest of the buildings are a miniature building authority, who also makes just some gorgeous stuff. It's that resin's kind of heavy.
Yep.
And fragile. I'm trying to remember if I got your bocage board on here, because I counted 8 tables, but I didn't. Is this your bocage? No, this is
Yeah. So what I didn't put in was the bocage.
Okay.
Because most people don't have hedgerow cutters, and so basically even tanks could get stuck on this board. So we just made it all hedges.
Okay. Excellent. And then, as I recall, we treated the orchards as you could shoot through the orchard with a 5+ saving roll, because orchards are relatively open.
Yeah.
So
again, infantry, I think, can move normally through it. But they get light cover, and they get their cover saves. I don't think we played it. I played on this board. I don't think we played it where wheel vehicles could go through it. I had to go beside the building right there to get through it. and John had a tank sitting on at the intersection there on ambush. And so I was trying to get around him and run off the board, and he wouldn't let me do it. So I peeked. I mean, because of his chassis was so long, I just eked forward until my gun was hitting his back track, and took a shot at him. So he didn't have line of sight to me, and of course I missed, but it was fun.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I noticed too, if you guys will look in the right side there, Randy has trimmed one of the tree bases to actually go around with the creek running around it. I thought that was pretty
Yeah,
snazzy. And then
it
the
fits in there just perfect too. It really looks
yes,
good in there.
yeah, I was like, that is awesome, Randy. And then the building there is again one of those micro arts buildings
Yep.
as Randy's adding to his collection on the regular.
Yeah, that was my first one. And my dog actually chewed a couple pieces off of this thing. He got a hold of it while I was putting it together. And
Oh,
Micro
no.
sent me another panel for free. Just paid for
Awesome.
shipping. So they're really awesome people to deal with.
That's good to hear. That's awesome. That's as a store owner, you know, I stand behind my products and I appreciate that I've got good vendors that do as well. I've had to do some swaps. It's just the nature of the business. Don't know if I'd replace a. I don't know if would replace a dog eating piece. Um, but I'm glad that MicroArts looked out for you on that.
Yeah.
Okay. The jungle board. Now I got to tell you,
Yeah.
Randy, lots of people when I shared this on Reddit and Facebook just were like, the jungle board looks great.
This has really evolved into a nice table. It started out kind of bare and and it's really coming along. I got to get another building.
Yes.
So that means I got to build another one because I don't want to buy
Yeah, because you
two.
want them to match.
Yeah.
I told you should buy a couple of them from me, but you know,
Yeah.
it'd be easier. But yeah,
Well, I'll
and
sell
that
you
you
this
want
one
them
and
to
buy
match.
two from you. How about that?
Do what?
I'll sell you this one and buy two from you. How about that?
I don't know about that now. We'll have to talk about that offline. So, and now the mat. Somebody asked me. This is also a cigar box
It is.
battle mat. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I want to say I don't know. Yeah, because we provided John with a mat. I think John
Yeah,
Ross.
we did. We did.
Yeah, and so I think every mat that we had in the show here was that is the one table I did not get a picture of was the Italian table.
Oh no, that was really nice looking too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think I caught it when I was taking pictures.
Yeah. So
But
originally,
it
this mat was a furry mat that I made from
okay.
some material, and it was so stiff, and the minis just kept falling over. It was so aggravating. And then I managed to run across this at a convention, and I had to buy it. So the only thing I
I
don't
think
like
how
is
much did you pay for it?
I want to say it was $50. I think so.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
one
because
thing you
cigar
don't see
box
on
battle
here
match.
is a road.
Go ahead.
We added a road
Yeah.
here on the left side with this felt
Yeah.
material. So at some point, I think I'm going to get some dye, some fabric dye, and I'm going to paint
Yeah.
another road going off this side, and that way
Yeah.
we have equal roads for.
Yeah, that would be useful. I don't know how I missed. John must have came in a little later. I'm looking at my grouping of tables here,
Yeah. Okay. So these
and
pictures were taken the night of, and then John didn't set his table up until that morning. That's probably why you didn't get a picture.
right. That's why I didn't grab a picture. But I do have one, so give me a minute. I'll flip one up here for everybody to look at. Matter of fact, we can do it this way because you guys have got to see this. It is an absolutely gorgeous picture. And I'm just going to do the old fashioned expedient of sharing my screen because I can. There we go. All right. So the one that we didn't catch in here, share screen. There we go. And we will catch that. There we go.
Look at
We
that.
would be remiss if we did not include this one because John Ross, and of course he runs Warzone Atlanta, great guy, fantastic tournament organizer, and he's always asking, "Can I do anything to help?" And we said, John, we could use another table of terrain. We could use another table because we had an odd number of double tables. We used double folding tables to make our tables.
Yeah.
And he brought a folding table. He brought this beautiful Italian village that we were all like, wow. And so,
I
like I said,
think
I
that,
would be remiss if I didn't include this in the mix.
yeah, I think that's his mat because I don't remember us having one like that.
So he provided a mat as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, just first class. But that's John Ross. He's first class. There it goes.
Yeah.
So, um, so you provided terrain, I provided terrain, Craig Crean provided terrain, John Ross provided terrain. All that to be said, that one of the things that makes this hobby just so much fun is the community. And if you're putting an event on and say, "Hey, I can use a hand," folks are going to help, and that is just awesome. And it's always nice to see what other people have in their collections and how they're going to interpret what's going on. So there's that pretty looking thing, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And now you have just me and Randy. So in total, Randy, I think the tournament went really well.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, so I went 2-1. I lost to John Connor, who won the tournament. So that's always, he's a good friend, and if you're going to lose to somebody, you might as well lose to the guy that wins it, because then you feel like
That's right.
yeah.
It was John Connor, John Ross, who were tied on wins. John Connor won on kills.
Kills, yeah.
And then Joey Stedman came in third. And the Stedmans actually came as a family. It was Joey, his son who was home from the Navy,
Yeah.
and then his wife. And she's quite the gamer. Sometimes you'll see a wife that kind of hangs around with her gamer husband, but she was a force to be reckoned with all on her own, and had a lot of good knowledge of both the hobby and the period. So nice to see the hobby growing, and us, it's the days when it was just a guys thing are definitely changing, and it was really fun to see a whole family doing it. After during lunch, they all went outside and had a picnic lunch under the trees at the church, and I just thought that was, what a picture. I'm like, yeah, the family that games together stays together.
So how many people went 3-0?
I think just the two Johns.
Did they? Yeah.
Short of pulling my notes up, and
Yeah,
so it was definitely a well played game.
kill points are going to matter too. And I know they were a big thing in version 2. You have to have that kill point count to come out on top.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to change going forward.
Mm-mm.
And me as the TO, the challenge for me was, okay, this is new players. I want to do a small list to try and keep some of the cheese down, because we're already seeing in some of the conversations that you almost, as a TO, you almost can't just say bring the book. You've got to put some kind of guardrails. Although I think John at Warzone is just saying, go crazy. So I'll be real curious to see how that goes. Randy, I can't go to Warzone, so you'll have to be our eyes and ears there, and tell us.
That is
tell
on
us
my
what you
radar.
think.
That's going to be my first really big one for version 3.
Right. So that is the same weekend as Jacksonville Skirmish, which I don't think is going to have a bolt action tournament, but may have 1 or 2 bolt action games going on.
Yeah.
And actually, before that, you're going to have the Siege of Augusta.
Yeah.
Tournament, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a V3. Kalista Skibicki is going to put that on.
Yeah.
And we're going to try and get her on between now and January and interview her. If you guys don't know the Skibickis, they've been real big in the tournament scene, especially in the Southeast for years. They're another pair of GMs. If the Skibickis are putting on a tournament, you probably want to be in it because it's going to be good. Randy, you played in their Siege of Augusta tournament last year, didn't you?
I think the year before. I didn't go last year. I think. All right. So yeah, I didn't go last year. I went the year before.
Okay. I know their tournament's always well attended and seems very well regarded. So there you have it, folks. Just had our first Savannah version 3 tournament, had our fall tournament. We always try and put one on September, October, about four. We do tournaments about 4 times a year, and then we do events twice a month. We do historical events. Bolt action's always welcome. Actually, we've got some folks. It's Friday, and we're having our club meeting, and I have a couple of people coming to play bolt action. So I'll provide terrain, and they'll play. I'm going to run Blood Red Skies, so just something a little different. And then, of course, be looking for from the Savannah Garrison. We're going to try and do at least one open play day between now and Thanksgiving. If we can swing it, that'd probably be the 16th, Randy. And then we're going to have, of course, Thanksgiving on the 23rd from 11 to 8. Come and send the wife shopping for Thanksgiving, and you come on down to Savannah and roll some tanks around and have a good time hanging out with the crew. As always, be sure to like, share, check out our Patreon, check out our Ko-Fi, because doing this stuff is thirsty work, and I need lots of coffee. $5 will buy me a cup of coffee. Might even feed my babies. Who knows? And then, of course, be sure to look for the links for our store, and for we also include links for the Warzone show. So hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you got other things you'd like us to talk about, or you have questions, absolutely drop them in the comments below. And thanks for your time.
All right.
Randy, anything for the folks?
I'm fixing to go hit my recliner and sleep the rest of the afternoon.
That sounds like a plan, brother. All right, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.